Welcome everyone to Admiral Markets. This is the webinar of the 25th of September where we take a look at trading room here, my trading. It's a live webinar and it's 7:46 a.m. UK time at the moment. Before we start looking at live charts and technical analysis, this disclaimer explaining that the material here is intended for a global audience. Please take into account that the info in this session may not be suitable for everyone. To get the corresponding information, whether this is suitable for you, and on charting conditions and other details, visit admiralmarketsglobal.com, select your country of residence, and contact an appropriate entity. Also, trading for exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk and it may not be suitable for all investors and traders. Therefore, please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. This webinar is not advice, and the webinar is for informational and educational purposes only. By continuing watching this webinar, you agree with the disclaimer mentioned here, and you can always get the disclaimer by contacting Admiral Markets and asking for the disclaimer. All right, thank you so much for your attention on these two important topics. Today our theme is price action at pivot points. So we'll take a look at that. If we have some spare time left, maybe we'll take a look at trend lines, pivot points. It's pretty straightforward. Either price is there or not. If it's not there, then we could move pretty fast through the charts. So if we have some spare time, we can look at other things as well. Make sure to follow Admiral Markets with Twitter as well, by the way, and if you like, of course. And with that said, let's take a quick look at the calendar. We have only a red tagged event on the dollar throughout the morning. We have European morning, we have European lighter news. Alrighty. Good morning, Marcio. Good to see you. And everyone else, let's take a look at, well, I have it on the pound odd here because of the fact that price is bouncing off the H4, so I like that particular trade. I would have taken it earlier, but I didn't wake up that early in the Asian session. I woke up about 4 a.m. UK time, so it was still part of the Asian session. And well, I saw price breaking the H4 and then bouncing off the H4, so that looked like a good long. I was aiming for the H5. I just missed my H5. I was up 50 pips. Now back to 15, which is a bit annoying, but still could be a bouncing spot for the upside to H5. I might. My initial target is H5, but at the moment I don't have really a TP at that level, though. I am at the moment still keeping an eye on it and deciding if I want to trail stop it as well, if it does accelerate a bit further. I was thinking about the pound New Zealand and the euro New Zealand too, but those seem to have accelerated so much this morning that I didn't take it. I took the dollar CAD as well. We can take a look at those ideas in just a second, but that's basically what I was looking at earlier today. Euro yen 2, euro odd 2. So basically those, euro yen, euro odd, pound odd, euro New Zealand, pound New Zealand, and dollar CAD. Those seem the most interesting to me. Morton took the pound CAD short. That worked out very nicely because it did move down to that 180.50 level, if I remember correctly, we were talking about. Or it was very close. It went actually to 180.58, right, or something like that. Anyhow, that was a few hours ago. We'll take a look at the pound CAD because we discussed the pound CAD yesterday. So why this long at H4? Well, I would have taken it, to be honest, I would have taken it even here or here if I would have seen it at that time, but the price, I mean, that was the Asian session, I was sleeping. So I woke up, I saw this move up, and I thought the H4 now could be a bouncing spot. So that was the reason. Also, you can see bullish moving averages, so we were in a bullish mood. And, well, we didn't have the crossover, actually, in the Asian session here. But at this point, we did, of the 21 and the 89. So if you really want to wait for crossover, this would have been the first spot to trade it at the H4. If you don't mind taking it a bit more aggressively, then sometimes even maybe here. the 21 band was bullish. That is the most important in my opinion. The same thing for the Eurodd, by the way. Eurodd 2 took it somewhere upon this bounce right in here, but that's also not really, it's seeing some retracement. I like the pound odd a bit more than the Eurodd because of the fact that when looking at these both, they both seem similar, but the Euro pound is in a downtrend. For those that are not in any trades, yeah, I don't know, this could be a bouncing spot. I maybe probably would wait a bit to see if we get some price action signal. Price is almost back to the H4 yet again. Waiting for maybe some kind of candlestick pattern could make sense, or just taking a direct market order here. But it is about 15 pips, 13 pips higher than I took it, 15 pips. So if you're interested, I mean, you pending order maybe even at the place I took it could make sense, but that's up to you. Of course, that's always your decision. I'm already in that trade, so I don't have much. Well, I have always a choice, but I'm choosing to stay in at the moment because the 21 band is still pretty bullish. So I might exit, but I would have to see more signals of loss of momentum than this, because this could just be a retracement and that's it. We see another bounce. This could just be, you know, those ups and downs we see multiple times. Dollar CAD, well, let me show you quickly the dollar CAD. I took it, let me take a look exactly. It's up 20 pips at the moment, so that means 190. Let's see. I'm a bit confused. No, 110.81. Sorry, 110.81. 110.81 is here. So sorry, this doesn't have anything maybe to do with pivot points. Well, actually Camarilla are pivot points. So yes, actually it does, but I mean not the standard pivot points. I took it upon the break of the H3. I just woke up, relatively just woke up, and not literally 1 minute, but and I saw this candle breaking above these tops at the H3. With still bullish moving averages here, I thought it was a decent enough. So we had some upside sideways move, and now we're getting a follow through. So that is the moving averages in combination with the Camarilla pivot points. Low news. If anyone is new in here, by the way, please let me know. Please let me know so, because then I will explain maybe certain concepts in more detail. Okay, because that might be required if you're visiting for the first, second, or third time. The L3, the H3 and H4. I'm not really sure why they call it H and why they call it L. Maybe for low and high, if I think about it. I never checked, but would make sense that it's probably for high and L, I guess, for low. So this one is indeed breaking up. So this is how you can use moving averages with pivot points. This one is moving away, so if you're not in this trade, there's not much choice, in my opinion, but to wait for some retracement. That is different with the pound odd, as I said here, at 184.90. You know, if you like that price compared to the H4, it was maybe some potential market order right there, right then. But you could also be a bit more patient and maybe wait for a deeper retracement. But will price get there? Of course, that we don't know. No one knows. Eurodd is also bouncing. It's not moving up that much, but in theory, it's about the same as the pound odd though. Now, pound New Zealand and Euro New Zealand quickly. Those past trades have passed, so I don't want to bore you with stuff that happened in the past. But just to illustrate, the concept I think sometimes can be how you can use these two in combination with each other. I think it's a powerful mix. And it's good to take a look at sometimes at this example, because you might underestimate, you know, once you get a powerful move like that, it's almost scary to take a trade like that, isn't it? Right? Because if you look at the fact that this strong breakout candle here, for instance, that is almost scary to get in. But you can see when you get such an impulse that H5 not only gets broken, but easily gets broken. So I'm not a big fan, as you know, of trading it above the H5 or below the L5, so therefore I did skip this one. but it's actually just to show myself actually and you all how when you really get a good momentum, usually speaking, you do ride up a bit like this before you get a bigger correction, and then you get still a bounce. And it's a pretty long process before you get a reversal, especially with this momentum spike like that. As I said, usually you see a follow through after the momentum spike, usually. Then you see the first correction to the 21 band. That is often a bounce spot. Then you get a break of the top, hit another retracement, hit another break of the top, and then probably you'll get a bigger retracement. Roughly like that. Not, I mean, give or take, obviously. So if someone took this breakout candle right in here, I think it must have been some news event on the Kiwi, then yeah, it did move up about 140 pips at the moment. I wasn't awake at that point. This was about 5 hours ago. So no, I was just not awake. I woke up when the price was about here. I still thought about taking this one, in fact. And that was all based upon the fact I would ignore my H5 kind of guideline just because of the big spike up here. And I know that often you get that kind of like slower upside like that. And it did indeed, in the meantime, move up about 95 pips. So I actually, although pound odd technically was better set up, the pound New Zealand has more thrust here, as you can see. It moved up 95 pips. So anyhow, I don't want to bore you too much with these details, but it is important, I think, to learn, not only to maybe see what I trade now, but to learn how to interpret it yourself, because obviously this webinar lasts an hour, and you might be trading 24 hours or 20 hours or 16 hours. So it's much more valuable to learn the strategy than a strategy, the analysis, than to see what only I'm doing right now. And this particular momentum is a type of formation, is a type of movement that often sees a big follow through. So that's good to know. So I won't bore you with more past things. Let's take a look at the future now. The euro dollar broke the channel, the Asian session channel yesterday. That lasted quite a long time. Yesterday I said I'm not going to take the trade. I want the price to break out of H3, which it never did. So I was happy that I avoided this mess, and it turned out to be a flat consolidation, a range after an impulse. And then when it started to break down a lot. Now, personally, I didn't like the break I said yesterday. And I underestimated probably the bigger downtrend when I said that. Luckily, I was cautious with not taking the long. As you know, I said yesterday it's a downtrend, but there are severe reversal signals. So I wasn't therefore a fan of the downside. The upside, more, but I was waiting for price action to prove it to me, which it never did. But therefore, I did skip the downside, which in retrospect is a pity because it did move down a lot and it broke the bottom. So yes, there was a support level, but it just broke through it. And it was a good breakout. So if you did take it, it did match the rules, by the way, because the EMAs are bearishly aligned. The 21 band is bearishly angled. And if we break the fractals here, it does qualify. I filtered it out. And that was not a profitable decision, but not a decision that cost me money either, but it didn't capitalize on that downside, and it did move a lot. In the meantime, if you trail stop the fractals, you got your stop loss, for instance, right here, and you got one more spike in the direction. In the meantime, with the current environment, this was yesterday's spike, this is the Asian consolidation, this is today's spike. Could we expect more? Let's take a quick look at what I have in my wave analysis, if you don't mind. Looks like this is a wave 3, 4, 5. It looks like we could have one more downside here. So we're at the L4, for instance. So I'm not too fan of jumping in right now, personally, but if it does make a hook back to the L3, could be interesting territory for a potential downside still. Only thing is, and this is something that is a bit difficult to know how to know how it will react to this support level. This is basically has been my target ever since the downtrend continued from this red dot. So we finally reached that spot. So that's the only thing that at the moment is making me not maybe that enthusiastic about the L3. Therefore, probably would rather give it some price action confirmation before jumping in there. Probably not going to jump in there blindly. But the euro dollar, let's see, did have a good break here earlier this morning at 127.60. Reaching 127.30, looking bearish. Let's see, pound dollar maybe a bit better. Pound dollar I think is a bit better than the euro dollar because it doesn't have that support level close by. And it actually broke, or is breaking, about to break, this 4-hour bottom. Actually, it just peeked through it. So here too, looking for, here, good break earlier this morning as well, to the downside of the pound dollar. I was already in the other trades, so I didn't anymore look for euro and pound dollar, but they were just as good. So we had early breaks this morning. There's nothing we can do about it. But a hook back to the L3 for more downside, I think on the pound dollar looks a bit better even than the euro dollar. And if you look at the fact that we have if you look at the pivot points, the classical pivot points, such as a weekly pivot point, then we see a very strong bearish hourly candle breaking below the weekly pivot point, making engulfing twins. 21 is below the 89. 21 at EMA hourly chart is at a strong bearish angle. So this is looking like impulse, the bear flag I thought it was, and a break now to the downside. So that particular analysis seems to be getting confirmed as we speak, and a bit of retracement up to that L3, maybe not even, just maybe below it, in fact, for downside to L5, which is a conservative target, I would say, because there could be a big potential. Price could retest this bottom again. So there seems to be a pretty decent space potential to the downside here on the pound dollar. So interesting, something to keep an eye on as price makes that retracement. Now the euro dollar, let's see, Lonut is asking about the dollar Swissy and if a spike could mean a reversal. Spikes, yeah, they could always mean that, indeed. We never really know for 100% sure, obviously, if it's a reversal or just a strong momentum bar. I do think that this is clearly downward momentum. So whether I would call it a spike or momentum, I would be more inclined to call it momentum because of the fact that there is a lot of downtrend. A spike, in more my opinion, is, for instance, if you have a downtrend like this, and all of a sudden it spikes up because it goes against the previous momentum. This is going with the momentum. So that's a bit of a difference. Now, it doesn't mean, though, that just because there's a momentum down, it has to continue yet another time down, because we have to realize there are other factors going on, like, for instance, a bigger support level around here, and divergence on the time frames. So maybe the break here earlier this morning or yesterday, which I decided to skip, were maybe better breaks than trading it now for a short, because we're getting into maybe territory that is indeed more riskier. So the balance here of whether we'll make one more lower low or whether it's going to make a bigger retracement, it's getting more difficult to estimate. Therefore, probably looking at how price responds at the L3, how price action signals look like on the hourly at 4 hour is a good idea. At the moment, we still see a very strong hourly candle. So unless there's some bullish sign at the end of this hour, still looking decently strong. The pound dollar I like better because of the fact that there's a good chance we're breaking this bear flag, or this, not the bear flag. This is actually a channel to the upside, but this orange line. But on a 1 hour chart, we are breaking this bear flag, the blue lines. So we're breaking a bear flag, the blue, and the support trend line on orange, with plenty of space to the downside. So in this case, I think that looking at the current market structure, bearishness on the pound dollar is a pretty decent likelihood. Nothing is a guarantee though. Dollar Swissy, let's take a look. Obviously, if a currency has already moved very far, let me open the dollar Swissy. If price moves very far, obviously there's always that indecision whether price can continue more or is it going to make a retracement. And if in doubt, stay out, I think is always a good rule. I mean, if you really think that it can't go up anymore but still have hesitance if this is the reversal signal, I would say wait. Right? There's nothing wrong with waiting. But this is the opposite of the euro dollar. It's indeed showing the upside impulse. This is kind of the fifth part, so maybe from a wave perspective that could be the last move. There's no price action signal or candlestick pattern here as yet that would confirm anything of that. I mean, if there's something specific you like to trade based on that, I mean, by means, I'm not going to stop you, but for me, this is a zone where, like the euro dollar, I would be more cautious of. If there is indeed a shooting star on the 4 hour chart, which we don't have yet because the candle hasn't closed, that would be different, of course. It could be maybe a sign that we could see a retracement back to the 21 band. For the moment, we don't have that because this candle hasn't closed yet. We do need to wait for that close, otherwise the candle could, we don't know how it will close. It could close totally different than it looks like right now. So price is going back to the H3. Is this a hook, is this a bounce spot or the end? In most cases, to be honest, it's not the end because often enough we just tend to see reversals way too early. Look at myself. I saw a reversal on the euro dollar potential, didn't happen. So most of the time, I don't know, 8 out of 10 times, traders tend to see reversals too soon than they really are present. But obviously this could be one of those 4 times that it does happen. That's what I would think personally about this matter. Otherwise, I think there's still a nudge higher statistic that this is just a retracement for one more push up. But we can do a bit more analysis on the whole matter by seeing, for instance, how far has price moved up. We can do, for instance, a fib like this. Well, we see it's pretty far already indeed in its movement. Let's take a look at the daily fib. Yeah, we could be hitting a minus 272 as you see. So on the daily chart, that's something to be aware of. And that could cause a downside because of that. We also have a trend line like this, so it seems relatively at the top of a channel too. So yeah, because I mean, from a discretionary point of view, I would skip this one. I would skip both sides, personally. Let's see. But if there is a 4 hour wick like this, that might change it. I think 4 hour is my personal time frame to keep an eye on, like Marcio says. An hourly I mean, you can use it as supportive information, but a 4-hour shooting star after a decent run up like that wouldn't be too bad. Obviously, sometimes shooting stars also fail, but it wouldn't be too bad. Let's see. Next one. Dollar yen. Looks like in a bouncing spot. Tried to break out of the H3 here. And I forgot what we said yesterday. Let me just take a look here. 24th. I think a breakout maybe below this line, I guess. I really don't remember. But that didn't happen. Price bounced off that, in fact. And the moving averages were aligned already from here. I went up for some upside. Now, maybe some continuation. We had an impulse correction. Let me take off all of the extra lines. We'll see indeed that price is above the H3. Let's take a look at the hourly. We see that it's above the daily and weekly pivot points. So this looks like a breakout opportunity for upside, in my opinion, on the dollar yen as we speak, probably because it's doing that right now. Not sure about the momentum. It looks a bit, I don't know, maybe I'll take a look at some others because it's kind of choppily moving up. Looks like the momentum is out of the market. So on this dollar yen, let me take a look if there's something better. Odd USD was a great short trade earlier today. Sorry, unfortunately, there were a lot of trades in the Asia session. Okay, the break of this L4, perfect. Moving averages, bearish. 21, below 89. Price stopping at the H4. Boom, look at that. Beautiful trade. Either upon the hook back of the L3, L3 becoming resistance, or upon the break of L4, which is a bit lower. The hook back at the L3 was perfect though. 60, 67 pips downwards from there. Let's see, Kiwi. Same story as the Euro New Zealand Pound New Zealand. Dollar CAD still moving up. Pound yen. Sorry, pound yen, this is Euro yen, excuse me. Euro yen actually still stuck between the H3 and L3. You know, the moving averages were bearishly aligned here. So a break below this bottom could be still something to consider. Price is already back at that level. That's what I was looking at earlier this morning on the Euro yen. And it's not going all too far as yet. But I took it somewhere here upon when price got into the moving averages. So I was up 30, but now it's retracing back. But this could be just a hook back. From a breakout point of view, though, price would need to go below L3. This one right in here. From a bigger point of view, from the outer point of view, let's take a look. In a bearish mode already. Let's see if we can make one more fall to maybe the support trend line here and the minus 618 target. In that case, it would have done like that. First down, correction to 38.2 fib, target, first target, and then second target. That second target is right at that trend line at the moment. So it needs to make, it could make maybe that 45, 50 pip fall to this target today. So Euro yen is a potential. The problem is though that the dollar yen downside, but dollar yen is moving up. As I said, this is potential breakout level here. So that's a bit contradictory. That has to do with the fact that the euro dollar is moving down. So that explains it. Looks like price hit the L3 here. Let's see, 50, missed it by 2 pips. Pound yen is similar story, but maybe pound yen downside not as nice because the euro pound is in a downtrend, so this is more of a wedge, so that seemed less interesting because of that. I discussed the euro out and pound out already. Euro New Zealand and pound New Zealand had the same, right? We talked about that, 100 pip follow through. And that leaves us with pound CAD. Let's take a look, pound CAD. And then we have gold we can take a look at. And silver. So pound CAD, we discussed yesterday the fact that price could retrace back to 180, 180.50 when it was somewhere up in here. And I was looking with the trend perspective, I was actually looking for price to get there for long. Not so much to take shorts to that area, but Morton did take a pound CAD short. Interesting. Great job. I hope that, or at least I hope it worked out well then. Price in the meantime made that retracement and is, let's see, was just a few pips off of that 180.50. So if someone had a pending order, then it wouldn't have been filled. But if someone was looking at price at the charts at that time, then you might want to sacrifice a few pips if you see a wick like this, for instance. Draghi speaking 4 minutes? Oh, I didn't know that. Missed that one. Yeah, you want to be very careful with the euro. Pound CAD at the moment, although it bounced off to 180.50, at the moment it doesn't really look like a lot of upside momentum. I would be cautious of the longs. Probably move it right to break even because the 21 band is bearish at the moment. We got engulfing twins here, right here, off of the daily pivot point. So what could happen is that price starts to build on this. Don't want to get caught in that. So if anyone took the long from the bottom pin bar here, I would just move it probably just below that pin bar or to move break even and hope that it starts to break to the upside. Because if it doesn't, it could do that as well. Have a fib on this upside. I don't know why. I guess we talked about it last time. That probably I was saying, I assume because we have a fib from here to here and the targets to the upside that this could probably be a correction like that. And that indeed happened. So I don't remember it, but it seems like that. 50 fib up to past the 6018 up to the minus 1000 target. Price still in this downtrend channel though, roughly speaking. There we go. This downtrend channel, and well, dollar is winning again, or the commodities are losing out. Whatever it is, it's moving down, and we're approaching more and more the bottom, the bigger bottom of 1180. So that was a good break of this trend line, for instance. If anyone took that break, nice job. Or if you took the retracement target up in here, good job. Now, I don't know. Let's take a look at the Camarilla. Maybe we'll hook back to L4, L3 probably before it makes sense because we're pretty close to that L5 target. Silver also well on its way to the downside. And we talked about this wedge I can see because we have two orange lines. Wedge got broken to the downside, then upside, then started to go sideways, now falling down lower as well. And the commodities really having a beating. price down to 17.40. Wow. Curious how far this bearish commodity prices could bring it. And if commodities are going down, well, I guess then whatever, it would be interesting to speculate what the reasons are. Obviously, there is some dollar strength, but could the dollar strength explain everything? I don't know. What do you think? We're curious to see your opinion. I mean, now I'm talking about fundamentals, obviously, not technicals. Neda talked about fundamentals in yesterday's webinar. Did you join that webinar by any chance? Maybe you have some info from that webinar that explains the fundamentals behind commodities going down. There is that dollar strength, but maybe there's also other things going on about maybe less production and therefore less usage of commodities, or maybe less is being consumed at the moment. Kind of like a deflationary situation. If silver will go up, well, it doesn't look so at the moment. Not now. Now it looks pretty bearish. The break is looking pretty good. So to me, this is looking more definitely follow through on the bearishness. How far is difficult to say, but for the moment, 1450, 15 probably are levels of support to think about. 15, the psychological round number. E is a minus 1000 target of the very first correction here. Minus 272 target all the way to 11. Well, yeah, that's further in the future. For the moment, I would say 15, but we can zoom in obviously and look at lower time frames like the weekly and see what kind of targets we might have there. And in that way, the minus 618 will be the next target, and that is right at the same level, 1440. What a coincidence. So that's the weekly fib. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of dollars more downside. If it's falling too much down, well, yeah, you want to be careful with giving a relative value to how much it could fall, because it's difficult to know. No one really knows what is too much. So you want to be careful. I mean, in general, when this was falling from 35 to 17, when price was at 22, did it seem good enough? Did it already have a pretty good discount compared to 35? Sure it did. 25 looked like a great price compared to 35, but it still fell lower to 18. So I'm just trying to show that it's difficult to say too much, or in my opinion, if that's what you meant. I don't know, of course, exactly. It's difficult for me to 100% know what you're saying, what you mean with falling too down. Best is probably to look at some, if someone is looking for upside reversals, problem. And let's take a look at something else. Found it quite interesting if price would have gone to the L3, but it didn't do that. Pound dollar making the bounce a bit here indeed. Dollar index not showing up. Okay. Euro pound. Pretty important decision point because of the fact that it's coming near this monthly bottom. I think we discussed quite a lot of, yeah, the Kiwi is really falling indeed. The Bank of the Royal, or the Reserve Bank, not Royal, sorry, the Reserve, isn't it? The Reserve Bank of New Zealand. Definitely sending that Kiwi lower and lower. Seems set up for bearishness already, in my opinion, to be honest, because the Euro New Zealand, for instance, I didn't trust this breakout to the downside. Here, let me show you. 1 second, it has to go to the, just want to go to the 1 hour chart. Because of the fact that we broke this trend line. We broke this trend line, we had an impulse, correction impulse. So this break to the downside here, looked to me like we're bumping into support, because if you put trend lines on it, let me take a blank chart and start drawing trend lines, and you'll see that to me it looked like suspiciously moving into support. I didn't trust that downside break, this downside break, although it was, let me use a different color of a trend line, hang on. I'll just use green. Although it was a descending wedge here, I didn't like the break to the downside because there was this trend line where it could bounce off. There was this trend line where it could bounce off. There was even some other trend line I forgot about. Something else somehow. Maybe this one? That's a bit further away. I had another trend line in mind. Now I don't remember. Not sure. Well, yeah. There were reasons for price to bounce off. Obviously, we had this particular zone of support as well. So, yeah, that's exactly where it bounced off as well, as we can see. So, but certainly the RB and Z helping that analysis, obviously, with a big, big, big bounce. Kiwi, same thing. Did technically, in my opinion at least, look like a bear flag. Oh, sorry about that. And it is already in a massive downtrend, obviously, and a lot of momentum. So that's one of those things here too. Interesting enough, if you ask traders at this point in time, let me show you where, right here, based off this trend line is based off of these two support levels right in here, right? Good support levels. What will price do when it gets there? You know, it's going to be 50-50. Some say take the short, some take the long, and personally, I was in favor of the short because of the fact that the momentum was too strong. Too many breaks, too much resistance, and too much downside pressure. And that indeed happened. Break, hook back, break, hook back, break. So what can we now expect? I would say the main target for the moment is probably, well, not much further, not much. I mean, we have a very bearish weekly candle. So what could happen is maybe sometime next week, retracement for one more downside to anywhere in these two blue lines. That would be the next layer of support. Eurodollar, let's take a look. Eurodollar indeed bouncing off the L3 for more downside. And looks like that was the moment, but difficult to tell. We could maybe get one more pullback. We never know. Price makes a lot of ups and downs. Pound dollar trying to get back to the moving averages here. Eurodollar is trying to break out to the L5 at the moment. So I wouldn't be a big, I mean, L4 is still a breakout potential. I don't know. It's looked better at the L3 in fact, but sometimes as we can see in previous examples, L4 works as a decent breakout too. Obviously it's a worse price than the L3, so it all depends from trader to trader how comfortable they feel with the lower breakouts or worse price breakouts, relatively speaking. Pound CAD indeed getting a bit of a bounce. Goody good. Good. For the longs, not for Morton Doe, who has the target a bit lower. I say goody good because I was looking for longs in here, so that's why. But for Morton, I hope that I'm not in the trade, but for Morton, I hope that it goes down. Darshan maybe is, I don't know, is maybe in the upside, maybe because there's a smile with saying that pound CAD is moving, so, or maybe just keeping an eye on it for the fun of it. Let's see though. Still has to break above the H3 basically. Poked above it. That's always nasty with that pound. If a breakout seems dangerous, a solution to that is to let the 15-minute candle close. Why? Because if you get something like this, it's not a good sign. But if you get a good 15-minute candle that closes above the H3, like this, a good healthy bullish candle with a small wick at the bottom, or well, that's not even that important, but especially a small wick at the top, meaning the close near the high, that's a good breakout bar. That's a good breakout candle. That's one way of avoiding entries maybe that get wicked in like this, for instance. Because how much did the wick up? About 4 pips. So if anyone had a very tight entry just above it, a trader could be in that trade, and it's a bit annoying to get a potential pin bar / wick shooting star upon the H3 break. One way, if you think that could happen by combating that, is by keeping an eye on the candle itself and waiting for the candle close, by the way. I'm going to take a look at my pound odd, if you don't mind, to see how that's doing. It's showing a bit of weakness. It did bounce as I expected off the moving averages somewhere, so I'm okay with the fact that I stayed in, but I don't want it to linger here too long either. I might move the stop loss just below this fractal, in fact. There's a fractal, there's a support level, or at least below the H4 here. So what I'm going to do is reduce my risk basically, because I have I use the 60 pip stop loss here because when I took the H4, I put the stop loss closer to here. So no sense risking all those pips anymore. So I'll probably use the newest bottom here. Go 6 pips below that, 184.835. Effectively, what does that mean? -1 pip at the moment. Okay, well, let's break even. -1 pip is nothing. And still, of course, the trade is alive. Actually, the trade is up 34 at the moment, but you know what? I might as well move it just to break even. It doesn't matter at 1 pip. How about trend lines? Does anyone want to take a look at trend lines? We've looked at Camarilla and stuff like that. Does anyone have a particular pair they would like to look at only with trend lines? Let's do that. Let's set aside the pivots now for the moment. We've looked at them for the first 50 minutes intensively. So does anyone have a particular pair they want to look at with trend lines? First pair mentioned is the one we'll look at. So once again, which pair do you want to look at for the trend lines? Any pair. Pick a pair, your choice. First choice, there are 20 pairs out there, except please don't choose peso versus Czech crown. Ducks, I don't think I have. I would need to open the other platform. I can do it. It will take a few minutes, so give me just a second. In the meantime, we'll take a look at Swiss yen. 2 voters for Swiss yen. Interesting. Let's take a look. We're going with the blank template because I want to put trend lines on this. So let's start with the monthly. We can connect broken trend lines because they can become support. This trend line obviously would not have that much value because the price is about a ton of pips away, but for the fun of it. And this is a very steep trend line. Obviously, this trend line is at a very steep angle. It's not surprising that that has been broken already, so we can take that one off. I don't think it provides that much of value. Oh. Weekly chart, we can start connecting other trend lines. Obviously, this one is a very nice one here. Plus these bottoms, we see a triangle formation after this steep run up. Here you can see that that steep run up indeed was broken with this trend line, that break. And then we see this, basically this triangle wedge formation. There are other trend lines maybe we can put on the chart, like for instance connecting maybe these bottoms right in here somewhere. But it's not really, we could connect something like that, but that broke 2 already. As you can see, you can connect here like this. Don't forget with trend lines, we're looking for preferably multiple hits, like 3 or 4. 2 is the minimum, obviously. If you don't have 2 hits, then you're probably only connecting candle highs or lows. In that case, you're probably connecting trend lines of a lower time frame. If you have 6 or more hits, then you're probably not connecting a trend. I mean, it is a trend line on that time frame, but it's probably a trend line on a higher time frame too. Let me take a look and show you on the daily chart, or maybe even the 4-hour chart. Let me see if I can find a good example. Let's see. Here's a trend line with multiple hits. Let me take a look at the daily. And here too. Point is that if you have a trend line with a lot of, I can't get a very good example, but if you have a trend line with a ton of hits, then probably that trend line also has multiple hits on a higher time frame, and it'll probably be easier to see the structure of the market on that higher time frame, by the way, because then on the lower time frame it's more looking like a range. So we have 2 uptrend lines broken, but we also have 1 downtrend line broken right in here. So price managed to break out here and here. but then broke out actually above this resistance and now hitting the next resistance line. Alrighty. This looks like a rejection as we speak. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart, and we can see that this impulse is indeed over with this trend line being broken. Very steep trend line, but still it is being broken. Obviously, sometimes breaks don't go anywhere. Look here, this break didn't go all too far, did it? Here's a trend line. Let's see, right there. Good number of hits. And what else can we draw? New trend line connecting these bottoms. Guess that's about it. Let's take a look at the hourly. Hourly seems to be going down in a channel. In fact, like this. You can draw an access support line like that. That's about it, I guess, based on this. So support broken, we're in a downtrend channel, another support just broken here. So it looks like we have some bearishness for at least this downside right in here. But yeah. Why? Because this was a strong momentum. But in the meantime, price has retraced all the way down to the 78.6 fib. So this is not anymore a bull flag, in my opinion. Maybe on the 4-hour chart, let me take a look. 4-hour chart, maybe, if we take this entire upside into account. Even then, we're breaking below the 38.2 fib. So we also know that from a daily point of view, we hit the top of a wedge as well. So this is a wedge. So this could still be all part of the bounce off the top of the wedge back to the bottom of the wedge. So in that regard, this would be a first take profit. This could be the second one. And that could happen. Let's put fibs on this. I know that I said trend lines, but just to get an idea. $115, price down up to 38.2 fib, minus 272 target, up to 38.2 fib. Minus 618 target is the next one. That is about 30 pips away from here. So there's not a lot of reward to risk left. But if it does hit the target, then putting a fib like this and waiting for a new hook back to the 50 fib for a down move, I think makes sense. So probably rather do this. Right there. A short right in here would have been probably a bit better. Now, as I said, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So although it looks bearish, I have my doubts if this is the best moment to trade that bearishness, if you see what I mean. We can take a look at the pivot points now after doing all this analysis on the trend lines, see where the pivot points are. We do have an L3 here. So technically speaking, that could be a breakout if price gets below the L3. This morning, basically, the bounce off the top of the trend channel we were discussing was also a bounce off of H3, as we can see. So sometimes that H3 just gives enough or an extra confidence to take a short at the top of that channel when it's visible that also intraday resistance is present there. So that's my 2 cents. The L3 obviously is a breakout level, but the L4 would be the target because of the minus 618 target there, so there's not a lot of space. But who knows, price could always, there's always a chance it could accelerate to L5 as well, by the way. You never know. So that would be my 2 cents on that one. Let's see. One second, folks. Bear with me here for a second. Edith is saying yeah or EuroCAD. Let's take a look at EuroCAD. There it is. Let's do the same thing with trend lines. Blank chart. Björn, I'm looking for, unfortunately I didn't find that platform. So I don't know where it went. I thought it was on my desktop. Sorry about that. Can't see it at the moment. EuroCAD, let's take a look at the monthly chart here. Got a good monthly pin bar here. Wow, that led into a very big downside, didn't it? Let's zoom out just a bit. Alrighty, what can we do? We see a trend line here. Not that relevant, but okay. What else? We see maybe here this pattern, falling wedge broken. Something like that for the moment. I don't know, not that valuable. Let's take a look at the weekly. That one was broken, and obviously this one was broken. These are different angles of trend lines, steep, medium, shallow trend lines, all of them broken basically, so pretty bearish with the EuroCAD as the momentum rise down. This is kind of like your rise and fall. Daily chart has a good channel to the downside here, like that, connecting tops and bottoms, roughly speaking. Good angle. Doesn't have to be that precise, but roughly like this. Alrighty, let me move this up a bit like that, something like that. Okay, channel to the downside, breaking all of that support. One second, folks. The 4-hour needs to be loaded somehow. I don't know why. We open a new chart otherwise, unfortunately. No, there it is. Good. Alrighty, so daily downtrend, 4-hour, daily downtrend breaking the support levels, 4-hour chart here. It's quite messy. It's quite going sideways. You connect these trend lines. Here, another one. Hourly. Alrighty, something like this. So definitely downtrend. The question is when and where. Not too far from the bottom, but still some space to it. So there could be some trade to that downside. It would be nice if price made maybe just a bit of a hook back to the top of this trend line for that fall to the bottom of that trend line. I don't know if price will get that far though. but it does look bearish. Question is when and where. I would like to have it higher, but difficult to say if it will get there. Engulfing twins on the daily chart, so I wouldn't expect a break of yesterday's high. So any retracement would, as I said, by fibbing that yesterday's daily candle would be a good short. But the alternative would be a break of yesterday's low as a shorting potential, or wait for yesterday's low to be yesterday's low to be broken, and then wait for a hook back before taking it. It's getting close to being broken, the low of yesterday. Not there quite yet. If it does get broken, one could wait for a break and see how the break looks like and wait for a bit of a hook back first. From a moving average and pivot point of view, let's take a quick look. Yes, we actually have a breakout right now because price is below the 21 band. From a 4-hour point of view. Daily chart too, by the way, because daily chart also moved back to the 21 band and broke below it again. Engulfing twins. Does look like shorting territory to me on these higher time frames, but then the higher time frames would need a higher stop loss all the way above, obviously, yesterday's high at least. And it's looking like we're seeing rejection at the weekly pivot point as well. Yet another reason of potential bearishness. From a 50-minute point of view, it looks like price could go to L3, bounce, hook back, and go. So those are my 2 cents on this one. Thank you so much for joining us today. Do you have any questions regarding any of this by any chance? We will have webinars tonight. Let's take a look together. Tonight we have zigzags and swing highs, swing lows. Then tonight we'll be presenting to you at 6 p.m. Central European time. And then next week, Monday, Nenad kicks off with a weekly FX recap. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have live trading labs, live trading rooms. Wednesday and Thursday evening, as always, the more educational topics. Maybe one of the webinars I can make for next month, maybe can focus on, or next month is already known actually, the schedule. Maybe for November we can make some trendline webinars. It's been a long time ago, in fact, if I think about it. Pound odd, still keeping its head up here. But the euro odd is crashing, is moving down. You see, it's good I took the pound odd because there's more euro weakness than pound weakness at the moment. It's good for the euro yen though. That's moving down. Take a look at the euro dollar, also breaking the L4. So it looks like the L3 bounce doing its charm. You never know, but did have a slight preference for more shorting. Dollar yen is also moving up, good. So the dollar CAD is hanging in there still. Anything else we discussed? Pound dollar hooking back at L3, touched it, looks like it's bouncing off at 16 pips off of the L3, so that looks potentially like a bounce, who knows, but looks good for the moment. So things are not doing all too bad as we speak. Pound CAD is trying to break above the H3, but the pound dollar is moving down, so pound CAD is having a bit of a struggle. So I guess that's the current status. We'll find out how things develop sooner or later. We can review them again on Tuesday, how things have gone, if I remember, because it's a new week again, so might have forgotten about this. Let's see if you want to take a look together. Let's just remind me. Otherwise, I wish you good trading today. I hope to see you tonight, and wish you all a good day. See you soon.